We're going to move into another, again, case study from other universities. Next we have Dr. Saeed Sarawi. He's from Australia. The title of the talk is Degree Level Evaluation of Research Skill Development Framework for Higher Education. And welcome Dr. Saeed. He's coming all the way from down under from Australia just to give us a talk.
Should be the first one. What if I do? First one.
15 minutes, or
Yep.
maybe 2 minutes.
Okay.
This is the pointer and click.
Yep, that's fine. Do you have a mouse for this? Is there a mouse? Okay, that's fine. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming to this presentation. Before I start, I would like to thank the people who actually initiated this conference or this symposium, because I think it's a very interesting topic to start thinking about, especially in the face of the big movement in higher education nowadays. And also to thank the program committee for working hard to try to make this a successful event. So what I would like to do today is to try to present to you some of the work that we've been doing on how we can help our students try to develop their research skill as part of their undergraduate study, and we've also been implementing this in postgraduate study. So my co-authors is Dr. John Willison, also from School of Education, Brian N., Associate Dean of International, and Associate Professor Mark Liebelt, he is the Deputy Executive Dean of Engineering. So what I will try to do first is to try to give you why we started with this RSD, we call it Research Skill Development Framework, how did it start, and what were the drivers for this change, why we had to think about implementing these sort of this framework. Then also try to present to you RSD framework. This has been published before, it's been detailed, and I could guide you to the website where you could get more information, and hopefully for people who would like to implement this, we're happy to collaborate and interact. So I will talk about one specific example just so I don't have to go into lots of details about how we've been using these rubrics that we use for this framework being used in some kind of diagnostic, formative and summative assessment in a number of cases. Then talk about the latest we've been doing in trying to evaluate how this research skill development been happening, especially in the final year project component of our students, and present you with some feedback, then tell you why we think that RSD in our case at least makes sense or still makes sense, and conclude my presentation with some comments and acknowledgement. The whole thing about RSD actually started a very long time ago. It started nearly in 2005 when we, Dr. Brian and myself, were involved in supervising postgraduate students. And what we were doing at the time, we were trying to help, being asked to try to help in supervising one component or one course of a program that our master students that will be doing as part of their degree. What we've noticed at the time with a huge number of students were from an international background. And in lots of cases, we've been struggling with some of these students. The problem we were having with these students is plagiarism at one stage. Second is they were not sure what to do. For example, if you give them an article to read, what they were doing most of the time, they were spending a huge amount of time just translating the paper without actually going into details and trying to extract this information. At the time, we decided we're not going to be taking any more students. It's going to be the problem of the course coordinator to try to deal with it. Then we decided, no, we better do something about it. And Dr. Brown and I, we approached John Willison, who was, at the time, in a timely matter, who was doing this similar type of work in human biology for first-year students. So first, it was starting human biology first year, while we were coming from the master level. So it was a completely different contrast for the use of research skill development. Then after that, we started using that in 2007 with a second cohort of students, and we start to see the benefit of using this framework in trying to help our students how to research, how to extract information, and the difference between searching and researching. And this is a very big problem that we found with our students. So to convince our school that this is something would be useful to try to use in our final year project, we had to run a pilot study. And the pilot study, the feedback we received, it was positive. So we moved from a pilot study to a school adaptation of this framework. And so far, it's been implemented for the last 3-4 years to try to help assess and provide feedback to our students as part of this framework. Now, if we look back at all of the previous plenary speaks and invited speakers, the drivers we're all trying to work for is very similar. There is an increased emphasis on developing educational strategy that facilitate student engagement. And all of the things we've been hearing this morning and yesterday, it's how we can get the students to work and engage with us, how they can work with us, how they can study might be even outside the environment where the classroom environment. The second thing is that we always need to diverge from the traditional didactic lecturing style to having a more interactive lecturing style, where we're trying to use the lecture time as the time where we could interact with our students rather than with the passive transmission of information from one side to another side. And this point, the third point, is being highlighted just by the previous speaker about the lifelong learning. And this is also being supported by the comments being raised yesterday about some of the jobs for our graduates has not been created yet, and some of these jobs to be created, and we need to give our students the skills that they could develop even after they finish their graduate study. So we try to look at ways of helping our students to empower them and provide them with some kind of landscape, or provide them with the knowledge that they can use to keep building their future career. An external driver, which is, I think, being mentioned in the previous presentation about the quality of education. In Australia, we've got what we call Australian Qualification Framework, where effectively it tries to look at all of the different degrees, starting from Certificate 1, Certificate 2, all the way to PhD, and what are the attributes of each degree, trying to identify exactly when we say Bachelor of Engineering Honours, what does that mean? It needs to have some research component. It needs to have a number of attributes in addition to that. So our university or our faculty decided, specifically our school, decided that when we're giving a Bachelor of Engineering degree, it has to be a level 8, which means that an engineering degree, it needs to have a research component. And we needed to ensure that as part of our curriculum, that we have a way of helping our students to try to develop these research skills. And as part of the requirement, we have to meet this Australian Qualification Framework by early 2015. So lots of universities around Australia are trying to push to try to implement this by early 2015. Another thing, I'm not sure if it's been happening here in this region, that the number of students interested in EEE is been declining, but now I think start to pick up for the last 10 years. And we're not sure why that's happening, but now it started to pick up, and hopefully by implementing or encouraging more students to join in and helping them about finding new job opportunities related to electrical engineering, the number of students would improve. Another thing, which is part of the accreditation cycle, that we need to look always at our curriculum and review our curriculum as for every nearly 3 or 4 or 5 years, at least refresh our curriculum. So we thought also this might be an opportunity where we could embed some of these research skills as part of our program. Last but not least, that we had a new Vice Chancellor, and our new Vice Chancellor, Beacon of Enlightenment, strongly has a strong emphasis on different educational strategies that we can use to help our students. For example, some of the things being discussed also here about blended learning, flipping the classroom, improving the research skill that we could empower our students with. So these were all the drivers to try to push for this research skill development. Just to give you an idea about how many schools been using this research skill development within the university, you could see it's not just only electrical and electronic engineering. It covers science, electrical engineering, clinical nursing, petroleum engineering, and a number of schools, even veterinary science. In addition to that, around Australia, we had the collaboration with Macquarie University, Monash University, and also Melbourne University and University of South Australia. And internationally, we've been having links with Trinity College, I think, in Dublin, and the Pacific universities that decided to try to have a top-down implementation of research skill development. Now, I've been saying research skill development framework, and I think it might be about time to try to present it. I will not try to spend a lot of time trying to present the framework because it's been published before. All I would just try to highlight what is it, and if you're interested more in this framework, I'm happy to provide you with more information, or you could even access the website, which provide you with lots of information about that. You could think of the research skill development as it's got a number of facets. It's like a diamond facet. So these facets are, we've got 6 facets. The first one is impart. The second, find and generate. Third is critically evaluate. Fourth is organize. And fifth, synthesize. And the last one is communicate. And there is no sequence of these. You could start from any of these points because you could evaluate, then it requires you to generate information. So effectively, you could move between these facets, not in a sequential way. Okay. And horizontally, we've got a number of autonomy level, and these are a number of levels that students could develop to try to demonstrate how independent they were moving across this research skill. I'll have to skip a number of. So what we've been doing, we took this research framework, we tried to map this into a corresponding grades. So instead of looking at the guided inquiry, that would be a pass. And if they will independent, they could move to highest distinction. And there are a number of facets with well-described guidelines. And there are certain marks associated with each one. So as part of the evaluation, we followed students after we finished our degree, after they finished their degree, and we looked at some of these students and we asked them about how they found that research skill development as part of their honors, and how they found, would they recommend RSD to be used in the first 1 to 3 years of their degree. So around 80% of the students recommended that RSD to be used in the first 3 years. Also, a similar number of students recommended that they found that the RSD rubric was a useful component as part of their discussion or their part of their honor project. Okay, so I think you just move to the acknowledgement, that's all. I'd just like to acknowledge that this work is being supported by the Office of Learning and Teaching. And I also would like to thank the RSD teams for their significant effort and contribution to this work. Okay. Any questions?
One question, if there is any. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Said. I very appreciate this.